Good morning everyone and welcome back to another episode of Barham Engines. So today's schedule for the video, we've got two V8s, we've got a big 7-odd litre Chrysler engine actually that we've got to go through, check. It's one of those that's all been done for a customer of ours, but we've got to check that through. We've also got a nice rare 289 Cobra engine, and that is to do with the thumbnail and title. Paul's going to strip that and we're going to sort of go through it, see what we've got and what state that is in. And also we're going to continue Paul's build on the Crossflow. So let's get out in the workshop and see what's going on. So with 1.7, 1.8 thou of clearance, which is ideal.
With 2,000 mains, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'll give these journal a clean. I'll probably knock this piston out again actually, just to clean, make sure it's fine, it's all clean.
Yeah.
Check the piston valve clearance.
Yeah. So this engine is going to be, if we haven't said before, this is going to be, with the cam in it, it's going to be a very revvy engine. So you potentially could rev up to about 9 grand this motor. So sometimes we go over 2,000, don't we? 2 to 2.5. But with this being revvy,
yeah, I mean,
you don't want to run too much clearance on those big end bearings, really.
Yeah, I mean,
but we certainly wouldn't run less than 1.5.
Not something. I mean, I can't remember what I don't know what oil grade he's using, but it's going to be a 1050 or 2050. So you don't want them too thin. If you do go quite thin, you're going to have to also think about oil grade changes. I mean, bearing clearances and oil grade changes, oil grades, you know,
yeah,
can sort of go hand in hand, don't they?
That's right. Yeah.
I think what we'll do, we'll just double check piston and valve clearance.
Okay.
So
this is at TDC. So if we have a look in the book with this camshaft gives you a lift at TDC of
4.5 in the inlet.
So we want to run at least, what would you say, Paul? At least a millimetre or two over that.
I'm going to jump between thou and mil here. You want to be running at least 65 thou piston and valve clearance.
Yeah, which is 1.5 mil.
So, but any more than that,
so say if it's 4.5 mil, we want to be running at least sort of 6 mil of piston to valve clearance, static without the head gasket on.
Yeah, I think what we'll do,
we've got to allow for a bit of valve bounce and.
We'll DTI that in a sec, just make sure it's top dead centre. I mean, I can feel that, man, but we're doing DTI top dead centre.
Yeah. So we've DTI'd that. That's top dead centre now. So
I always do this without a head gasket, so I'm going to plunk this on very carefully. Mm-hmm. I don't test the head gasket because the head gasket essentially your safety net essentially.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so if we do it without the head gasket, then with the head gasket,
we know what
you've
the
got about
thickness
another
is.
1 or 1.5 mil.
We know what the thickness of the gasket anyway, so we can put that into our equation.
So what we do, the one we check in, obviously take the springs off. Seals are on just to hold the valves in.
So make sure that's fully closed. So put that down to there, and then zero that. Push the valve down. So that's 6.9 mil.
Yeah, so we're getting on a millimetre over what we would call safe, more than safe.
Yeah, we'll do that again just to make sure. I'll usually do it 2 or 3 times. So zero that again. 6.9 mil.
Yeah.
So we'll do these.
6.9 on the inlet.
Exhaust. Zero that. 7.6.
So we've got more on the exhaust. So more than enough there.
Zero that again.
And what we're also going to be doing is we're going to plasticine the
7.7. So we're about 7.6 mil piston and valve clearance there, which is fine. One that's got a head gasket on more, so we've got enough there already, but the head gasket on more, so we can work out in a bit exactly what it is. But
and what we should do also is we plasticine the top of the piston bowl and just indent the plasticine with the piston, with the valves heads, and sort of see what sort of clearance we're getting on the edge of that cutout.
Yeah, you don't want to be too close to the cutout.
It's things like, really, you know, the guides are lovely and tight now, but when you get a bit of guide play, once the valve's at full lift down here, you could end up with about 0.5 mil have played down there, so you don't want to be too close to that.
Yeah, well, I noticed this head as well. We haven't actually done this head. Someone's obviously. I mean, it's a nice job. Paul
Yeah.
done a nice job of it, but the guide is all cut down flush.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously the problem. I mean, it's great for airflow, but obviously
It's great for flow, but longevity of the guide,
Yeah.
obviously it shortens the life of it because it's shorter.
It's essentially a race engine, isn't it?
It is,
Or
yeah.
fast road engine, isn't it? So it's not too much of an issue because you're gonna rebuild it quite a lot.
Exactly, the service interval is a lot less than a road engine would be.
But with short guides, the valve guide wear is obviously accelerated.
Yeah. I'm going to sort of have a look, see what compression ratio we're going to end up with. Then I'm going to get the gasket on order, and hopefully beginning of next week we get that and we can put this thing together.
Be a nice little peaky motor, this.
It will be, yeah, and hopefully I've spoke to Roger, the customer, and he's hoping next year or this year to meet up with us at Castle Combe, and we should take the kit car, and he said that we can go along and have a go in the car. So we'll do a little video there. It'll be interesting.
Very nice.
But yeah, thanks a lot, Paul. Yeah, so this is a Chrysler, which I think they use in the Jensen Interceptors, which Dave is a specialist of. So this is one of those engines that's all meant to have been done. And Dave, like ourselves, he never takes anything for granted. If it's supposedly all been done, he's going to strip it and check it anyway. And usually a telltale sign of it being sort of home built is things like this, where matey's spent extra time on the com rods, polishing them, so it all looks very pretty, but I think the actual overall build was not very good, to be honest. These rods here, he's polished within an inch of their life, so we're going to have to take the pistons off, although it's all fairly new and not run for very long. We're going to have to take the pistons off the rods, check all these out, and obviously check the housings, do our usual stuff. It has been bored, what is it? I think it's about 20,000 oversized this is, so fortunately it's a fresh bore. I've measured them and they're all absolutely perfect, these, so all I've done is run the deglazer down. You can see there's not even any wear at the top, so we're happy to go ahead with the bores and leave them at that. But unfortunately that piston there is not too bad, but we've got a couple that are a bit like this, where obviously looks like there's a bit of debris in the oil or something like that, but not very good. So I'm going to ring Dave up and probably get him to buy a new set of pistons. This one is about 1.5 thou down on the skirt dimension, so not any good to use. Bearing wise, not too bad on the bearings, although we've got a few scores here, but yeah, we should stick a new set of showers in anyway. Dave's building this anyway, so yeah, fairly standard stuff. Bores are all right. We're just going to face the block faces, and if he's happy to use these, and then we're just going to balance the crank assembly. Right, guys, to continue our day of V8s. What you got stripping here, Paul?
Ford.
This is a Ford 289.
289, yeah. Something
Out
out
of
of
a
a
Cobra. So, as you can see, it's in a bit of a grotty state. God knows how long it's been sitting.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen one of these before. But
No, looks fairly horrible. But this is going into a genuine Cobra, this is. So
yeah.
I'm not sure whether this is the engine that was out of the vehicle, but what he wants, I think it's all standard, but what he wants is something to FIA standards.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent me the paperwork. We're just going to have a little look through and measure a few bits. As you can see, the pistons are a little bit grotty. Cylinder heads here all need bigger valves and what have you. He has sent me the spec sheet, but this engine has definitely been gone through in the past. So I've measured the pistons and they are at plus 60. You can see the bearings there are looking a bit grotty. But worst of all, Paul, what have we found when we took the sump off?
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's obviously
Bloody hell.
sitting quite a number of years.
That is horrible, that. That is fairly disgusting there. What's the oil pump like?
Well, it spins.
What's the oil pump like, mate?
Well, it spins freely.
But it looks horrible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to put a new oil pump in it on me.
Yeah, so this thing, as I say, I'm not sure how long it's been sitting, but this thing has obviously been gone through. We've got plus 60 pistons. Not sure on the crank size yet. We've got to measure that, although it doesn't feel or look brilliant. So I suspect that's got to be ground.
We replaced this oil pump dry shaft. This obviously connects, I'm fairly sure, to the Dizzy.
Yeah.
And obviously goes into your pump.
That's it. But the pickup was all sort of full of this, so I suspect it. Whether it's been running like that, I do not know, but that is awful.
I mean, I drained the oil out of this the other day. Well, earlier, sorry. Well, no, not in the afternoon. And the oil looked quite fresh.
Oh, really?
So I think someone at some point has probably see if they get it running and put fresh oil in it.
Yeah.
And they maybe started it, it's made a horrible noise or it's not started.
Ah.
Because obviously that is not fresh oil and what came out was pretty clear. So.
No, that's it. And as I say, if that's been...
But I mean, if you did that anyway, you would have knackered it because it just would have...
This is it. So even though it had all been done, I know it looks grotty, but that there is not going to be a result of the thing looking grotty. So,
no.
You know, if it's been sitting for 18 months or years...
those bearings aren't as worn as I thought they would be. Obviously they're worn, but they're not as bad as... I've seen much worse on engines that have been running. So,
but if you, as I say, guys, if you do buy an engine that has been sitting for an unknown period of time, even if it has been done or whatever, it's probably a good idea to take the sump off, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's been sitting for a number of years, you at least take the sump off and clean the sump out.
Yeah.
Especially if it's had old oil in it.
So the heads, all sort of fairly simple stuff. I think he's going to go for a trick cam, different springs, big valves, probably. I think we're getting on about 1.5 mil, 2 mil bigger on the valves on this.
Yeah, you could go 2 mil bigger than that, couldn't you?
There's going to be some porting, obviously get the compression up. He wants about 11.5 to 1, I think, out of this, whereas standard it's about 10. So we're going to have to chomp some off the heads.
Yeah, it's quite a thin leg gasket in this as well, so we can probably take quite a lot off, and I'm sure as long as we can get different types of head gasket thicknesses, we can work out what thickness we need.
Yeah, that's it. But no, fairly interesting one. It'll look, I'm sure it'll look lovely when it's all done.
Yeah, it'll look completely brand new, isn't it?
It'd be quite nice to see the car, because the car's been restored apparently, and fairly big money now. A genuine Cobra. Well, that concludes another video, guys. Really sorry I haven't done the explanation on the compression ratio in today's video. That's going to be on Monday. But until then, have a great weekend, and we will see you then. Cheers, guys.